Forum. How you feeling? How you feeling? You all are a beautiful sight to behold. So as you heard, hip-hop is political, right? Hip-hop is the most popular musical genre around the world. Hip-hop pulls from the Black tradition of the spoken word. Hip-hop has forced the structures of power to make room for different voices. Hip-hop is a radical megaphone. And hip-hop speaks into existence our dreams and our traumas. And hip-hop is 50, right? And as hip-hop celebrates its 50th year, this extraordinary panel will showcase how hip-hop has created culture globally, how it's named systemic challenges, and most importantly, is being used to address them. So please help me welcome to the stage Darryl DMC McDaniels, founder, Run-DMC. Dr. Olajide Williams, founder, Hip Hop Public Health. Sister Fa, rapper and producer. Ali, A.K.A. Mind. And Selena De La Soul De Sola, co-founder, Glasswing, translating for Ali. Welcome. Okay, Darryl, in many ways, this is your house. This is the panel that you built. Okay, as the founding member of the iconic Run-DMC, you truly are considered one of the pioneers of hip-hop and hip-hop culture. Okay, so let's list. Your music video, Rock Box, became the first rap music video played on MTV. Run-DMC was the first rap group to appear on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. And Run-DMC was the first rap group to be awarded the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Exactly. So set this stage for us, Darryl. How did it begin? How did you begin? How did hip-hop culture begin?
Well, hip-hop began like this. In New York City, there was this place called Studio 54. And then there was this other genre called disco. So Hollywood and everybody in the world, the kings, the queens, the movie stars, the athletes, the CEOs, he was coming to New York City to party at Studio 54. So the media, TV, magazines, and newspapers, every time you open up a newspaper or looked at TV, people's perception was that New York City was heaven. Because it was Rolls Royces and Bentleys and private jets and fur coats. So us as young people, the only thing that we related to out of those images were, wow, people get together and play music, and for those 2 or 3 hours, all the darkness, destruction, and devastating could go away. So we said, we're going to take the disco to the streets of New York City. And that was the first thing to do, to party and have a good time, to get away from the violence and the economic and the political systems and the educational systems that wasn't serving us right. But then something else happened. We realized that the world wasn't seeing the truth. So instead of just making songs about partying and rhyming about things we wanted, we wanted cars and stuff, but we didn't have that. We said we need to talk about the conditions that we're in. So when I first heard hip-hop, when it came over the bridge from the Bronx, it was like, oh, shoot, you could tell stories about who you are.
Yes.
And it was our reality.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So Darryl just provided that important context for us. And for those of us who love hip-hop, there's always an origin story. For me, it was 1979's Rapper's Delight and every other rap song that showed up on 92Q, Baltimore's FM station. So the question becomes, Jide, what was your origin story? How did you find hip hop, or how did hip hop find you?
So I actually have had a relationship with hip hop since I was a teenager. But I started partnering with hip hop when I was a neurologist working on the front lines of Harlem Hospital. And working in those conditions at that time, and this was towards the end of the 90s, we were seeing a lot of patients coming in and wishing they just knew a little bit more. They just had a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more information. Maybe we could have saved them and prevented their death. And so in my mind, public health communication wasn't reaching the streets.
Right, right.
And I asked myself, hip-hop is reaching the streets. You walk from 135th Street at Harlem Hospital down to 125th Street, and you walk past young people reciting rhymes from front to back. And I said to myself, if hip-hop can reach these young people the way it is, then surely we can use hip-hop for public health. And really, that's where hip-hop public health was born. That's where we decided to take the power of music and incorporate it into what we do. And it makes sense scientifically too, Cheryl, because a lot of folks don't realize that music actually occupies twice as much real estate in our brains than language itself. Music occupies both hemispheres, scattered throughout our brains, and language is usually unihemispheric. And that's the reason why hip-hop has such powerful effects on us. It reduces our stress reduces our anxiety levels, our mood. It can help us with learning, help us with memory and retention. So we took those neuroscientific properties of hip-hop and we used it to create hip-hop public health as a force to bring that health literacy to our inner city streets.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Thanks, Jide. Sister Fa, what about you?
This is my family. Love you guys. As a teenager, where I come from in the south of Senegal, in Casamance, we have like a rebellion since 1982, since I was born. And the conditions of the woman was not really very good. They was like pregnant, looking for water, just like cooking, going on the farm, and the man was there doing nothing. And there was also, okay, the men do some little work. I will get myself in trouble when I go back to Senegal. Then I was seeing also a lot of different social norms, tradition that was really affected the life of little girls there. Sometimes early marriage, female genital mutilation. And the hip-hop music was really very like nice way to express yourself, a way of communicating. And I started saying to myself, someone need to talk for those women, for those girls who have been abused. And then it was a very patriarchal music, but why not? And this time it was sister, not brother. Sister Fa, a woman.
Right. Well, Ali, hip-hop, how did it find you? How did you find it?
Bueno, yo soy de Colombia.
I'm from Colombia.
No son mi familia, pero son de mi país. Son como si fueran mi familia.
They're not my family, but they're from my country, so it's as if they were part of my family.
Bueno, yo vengo de un país que ha estado en guerra desde que tengo uso de razón. Y la música siempre ha sido usada a manera de entretenimiento. Yo creo que lo que me llevó al hip hop fue mi hipersensibilidad y las ganas de ser un comunicador.
So I come from a country that's been war-torn for many years, and hip-hop is something that for me has been a vehicle for communication.
Yo creo que yo no encontré el hip hop me encontró a mí, me encontró para salvarme mi vida y creo que eso me convirtió en embajador para poder trabajar en eso.
I didn't find hip-hop found me, and I think that's something that's made me into someone who's transforming.
Y bueno, ahora estoy sentado junto a grandes leyendas y eso me hace sentir muy orgulloso.
I'm sitting next to huge legends, and that makes me feel really proud.
Yes. Okay, so as you all know, one of the themes of this year's forum is 20 years of impact, celebrating 20 years of impact. You know, we talk a lot about the power of hip hop to broadcast systemic injustices, but not enough about how it is helping to solve them. So, Jide, I'll start with you. Talk to us a little bit about your work and the impact you're having.
Sure. You know, one of the things that, as a physician, is again going back to the issue of music, is how we haven't fully leveraged the power of music. You know, as a stroke physician, we use music to help people speak again. We use music to calm patients who have delirium. You know, music has so much more power than we realize, and by harnessing that power of music, we started building health literacy tools, research-based health literacy tools for communities of color, focusing on the most disadvantaged communities in the United States. And we built these tools with 3 goals. 1 is to actually build health literacy. 2 is to inspire that behavior change. And 3 is to measure the effectiveness of hip-hop in accomplishing those goals. And so we conducted randomized control clinical trials, several randomized control clinical trials with thousands and thousands of children in New York City in the public school system, and demonstrated that not only was hip-hop able to be utilized as an effective public health communication around health literacy, but it could also build behavior change and sustain it. Concrete examples. In one of our trials, we showed little children saving the lives of their parents and grandparents who were having strokes. Imagine that. 4th, 5th, 6th grade children, through a hip-hop intervention, able to do what most people can't do in the setting of that drama and that trauma. And that's the power of hip-hop. We've also scaled that program, for example, to cities across the United States. We've taken the model and we've incorporated other domains, because we realize that hip-hop is not just a vehicle for all the wonderful things that we've seen on the stage. It's a vehicle for saving lives. And so we've taken multiple other disease domains and we've popped them into our model, which is a culturally adapted, scientifically proven model. And we are now scaling it, disseminating it, beginning with the United States and hopefully globally in the near future.
It's extraordinary. Thank you. I'm going to move to Ali next. Can you talk about where your activism leveraging hip-hop, where did that come from? And what impact do you think that's made?
Yo soy de un barrio bastante carenciado de la ciudad de Bogotá, que es la capital de Colombia.
I'm from a community in Bogotá that
Y soy una persona que ahora vive en un mundo de privilegios gracias al hip hop. Entonces, cuando empecé, vengo de una familia también muy altruista.
I come from and now I have resources and I'm really fortunate, and I come from a family who's always been very altruistic.
Entonces sentí que yo no espero nada a cambio con este trabajo social, sino más bien la influencia que estamos dándole a la gente es hay que devolver, porque el hip hop nos entregó una familia.
Yeah, what's happened now is that I know that I don't expect anything in exchange for the hip hop, and what we've gotten from hip hop is a family, and we've gotten so much more, so we don't expect anything in return.
Y he trabajado en varios procesos. El último fue el proceso de reexistencia, donde tomamos 10 chicos de cada ciudad de Bogotá y de Cali. Dentro de los cuales hay, por ejemplo, una chica trans que hace hip hop, y el otro es un proceso de niños también de un barrio muy peligroso y lleno de guerra.
So we have a program called Reexistence. I hope I get this right. Reexistence that has 10 young people involved, including one trans young person and una niña joven and a young girl.
Ajá. Entonces la idea con todos estos procesos han sido darle una inclusión a esta gente, buscar talentos que estén en el underground, pero sobre todo que tengan procesos de construcción social, y a través de nosotros utilizar el hip hop como herramienta de transformación social también.
So everyone's laughing, Professor. We're trying to use hip hop as a vehicle for transformation, not just of the individual, but also communities themselves with these.
Voy a contar rápidamente un proceso que tuvimos en medio del estallido social en Colombia, en medio de la pandemia.
During the pandemic, I'm going to tell a short story about something that happened.
Hubo muchas marchas y decidimos hacer una nosotros mismos.
There were a lot of protests, and we decided to do one
Pensando
ourselves.
que íbamos a convocar 1,000 personas para no molestar a nadie.
We thought we were going to mobilize about 1,000 people to not disrupt
Llegaron
everybody else,
alrededor de 40,000.
and about 40,000 showed up.
Wow. Wow.
Y básicamente lo que nosotros decíamos era, El hip hop hoy no va a rayar paredes. Los artistas hoy no van a tomarse fotos con nadie. El hip hop no va a dañar las estaciones del autobús.
So basically what we said is, today hip hop isn't going to damage walls, hip hop isn't going to break any las paredes
Las paredes, dañar las estaciones del tren.
or damage any train stations or vandalize anything.
Hoy somos una familia y en esta familia hoy no se puede perder una billetera ni una gorra.
We're a family, and in this family, not one hat or wallet can go missing. We're
Y
a
fue
family.
una de las únicas marchas que hubo en Colombia en donde no hubo muertos, no hubo policía y no hubo nada. Solamente hubo hip hop, hubo unión y hubo transformación social.
It was one of the few marches in Colombia where there was no violence, there were no incidences of security and security theft. It was just hip
Y la
hop.
invitación era abrazar.
Wow. Wow. Thank you.
And the invitation was to embrace
La invitación era abrazar nuestro pasado,
our past,
no esconderlo,
not to
entenderlo
hide it,
y
understand
romper
it,
la cadena y empezar de
and to
nuevo.
break the chains and start over again.
It's brilliant. Well done. Sister Paz, same question for you.
Okay, as I said, where I come from in Senegal, I have been seeing that little girls undergo FGM, and it was something very normal. And to talk about it like this openly, people don't like it too much because you mention sexual issues, and this make people feel a little bit disturbed. I remember it's like 18 years ago, I was very young. I decided to use my voice, to use my music to talk and to try to break the taboos around this practice, which is FGM and also child marriage. I decided from Germany, where I'm living, to come to Senegal to start doing some work. And I remember, without any experience, I meet a lovely woman, and I explain her about my story, how annoyed I am against my mom to let me go with one of the worst form of FGM. I told her, today I don't feel like a full woman and I'm not happy. She took my hand and told me, Fatou, your mom cut you because she loves you. And this woman today is in this hall. I want to say thank you to Molly Melching from Tostan for teaching me and leading me. Because from that point, I started to work in school. I work in hospital. I tried to bring the youth around an ideal, which is like using music to talk about FGM. And it was so funny that the woman in my community used the same canal as me to make song against me. It was not hip-hop, but they was insulting me a lot, calling me Salima. And today I'm so happy to announce to you that I united 15 villages, and probably in October we're going to organize a youth conference about the alternative ritual against FGM, because we have been telling them to stop. It was very hard for them to understand. Then I said to myself, you know what? For sure, they're going to stop cutting the girls. They're going to stop marrying the girls very early. They're going to give them chance to go at school. But immediately, we need to find a solution and then to try to find an alternative ritual against FGM. Then for the let's say, the initiation, all girls who are not cut from the communities can participate also in the initiation ceremony, and then for sure it's going to happen in October in the West African side.
Nice.
Thank you.
So that's wonderful. So actually, before I go on to the next question, I want to turn back to you, Darryl. When you hear this, hip-hop is this global phenomenon. There's the hip-hop ecosystem, Colombia, Senegal. What do you think of when you hear these stories?
Well, we always knew that it was impactful, but the whole importance of creating hip-hop is to share information that will allow for change. That's the whole point. It wasn't, like I said, when I heard hip-hop, it wasn't about being in show business. And the boys and girls that created it didn't create it with record deals in mind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
created to change the mental, physical and spiritual, economic and political systems of the cities that they were living in, because it was the way to communicate information that everybody can understand. For instance, a lot of kids don't know that, the Zulu Nation was the biggest street gang in New York City. Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation, they stopped gang banging, stopped selling drugs, and said, how can we make ourselves better? And the world thought that they had nothing. But they said, if we look inside, what is it? So out came the music.
Yeah.
Out came the MCs, out came the poetry, out came the break dancing, and out came the artists.
Yes.
And we realized this, the arts succeeds where politics and religion fails.
That's a mic drop. That is a mic drop. And so, I would say it's only been maybe in the last 10 years or so that change maker communities like this one have been much more intentional and much more explicit about talking about well-being and about centering self-care. And Darryl, I'm going to go back to you. Can you share something with all of us about hip-hop's relationship with mental health, both historically and specifically over the last few very difficult years?
Well, first of all, the message, excuse me, the message was a mental health record. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder, you know what I'm saying? Excuse me.
Yes.
And also, don't push me, 'cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. You know what I'm saying? So we was always addressing the issue.
Yes, brilliant.
So, and we were trying to find a way out, so the very next thing that we did was, there's got to be a solution. So you have the message from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, not just talking about the young youth's truths.
Yes.
We wrote that record because we was watching our mothers, fathers, aunts, and uncles, and grandmothers struggle with unemployment, 9 to 5, and no solutions. But what y'all do here is what hip-hop was already doing 50 years ago. We addressed the issues and problems, and then we knew the only way to the solution is if we do it.
Yeah.
So, Planet Rock, you'll remember Rock to the Planet Rock. Don't stop. We know a place where everybody could be okay, and everybody can eat, and everybody can be safe and stuff like that. So we made music about it to get it. You know what I'm saying? Some people ain't going to get the information from a book. But if you listen to a song, like me and Doc always talk about this, we've always been learning through music and repetition and melody, because that's a great way to learn. One of the greatest hip-hop songs in the history, everybody in this audience did it, and it helped you learn. And let's do it right now. A, B, C, D, E, F, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, Q, R, S, T, U, W, X, Y, and Z. Now you know your ABCs. Come on, y'all. So it's always been there. So hip-hop realized, said, you know what I'm saying?
Brilliant, yes.
So Doc is just taking what was already being done and applying it to where it was needed. And, and for me, when I was coming up, it wasn't cool to be positive. It wasn't cool to be educated. It wasn't cool to do good things. But hip-hop allowed me to come up and say, I was never in a gang. I never sold drugs. I don't want to go to jail because I like my freedom. And one of the things that shows that it's worked, I stood up in front of the world on my first record. In the same way people would rap about drug dealing and shooting and fighting in the gang, I rapped, I'm DMC, in the place to be. I go to St. John's University. And since kindergarten, I acquired the knowledge. After 12th grade, I'm going straight to college. Now, what surprised me? What surprised me was younger kids, I was 18 when I did that.
Okay.
All the kids 17 to like 6 came up to me because I wasn't famous yet, but it was like, Darryl, how the hell do you go to school and you go to St. John's and you still cool and wear Adidas and stuff like that? So some of those kids, right, and they couldn't believe that. You got Adidas and Gazelles and stuff. So some of those kids, because we were putting that type of dialogue and content out, some of those kids was like, you know what? I'm dropping out the gang and threw the guns away. Yeah. Some of them kids went and got GEDs and got employment. Hip-hop didn't just create rappers. It created doctors and journalists and artists and revolutionaries.
Yes.
So we've been doing it from the beginning. The proof is in the pudding.
Yes.
What's up?
All right. So Doc, he called you out on this. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I just want to say a couple of things. I mean, it's hard to add to that, but going back to the message, today a lot of people talk about social determinants of health. It's like the new buzzword. It's almost as if it was suddenly invented. But the truth of the matter is, if you go back to the message and you watch the video of the message or you listen to the lyrics of the message, It's all about social determinants of health.
Yeah.
It's actually social determinants of premature mortality. If you listen to the lyrics, it's like a jungle sometimes that makes me wonder how I keep from going. Now, what is that jungle? That is the social environment.
Yes.
That's the jungle that's pushing him into the edge. And so we can put safety nets in our communities and hope people don't fall through the cracks. We can put ambulances at the bottom of the cliff and whisk them off to the hospital. We can put fences at the edge of the cliff and hope people don't fall down. But what we really need to do is move those folks further away from the cliff so that they're not at risk for falling.
Yes.
That's what we need to do.
Yes.
The truth of the matter is, the greatest predictor of life expectancy in the United States is zip code.
Yes.
It's where you live.
Yes.
The truth of the matter is, genetics might load the cannon, but it's the environment that pulls the trigger.
Yes.
And because of structural racism, too many people are living in environments right at the edge of the cliff.
That's powerful. Before we move on to our, thank you both. Before we move on to our last question, I want to make Sister Fa Ali, anything to add based on what we just heard?
Bueno, sí, quiero decir que las enfermedades mentales existen, sobre todo en países violentos.
I'd like to say that yes, mental illness exists, especially in countries affected by violence.
Vivimos todo el tiempo una guerra, una jungla, como dicen mis compañeros.
We live all the time in a war, in a jungle, like my fellow.
Pero sobre todo hay que volver al origen, siempre creo que hay que volver al origen y en este momento hay una lucha por los likes, por los streams.
But we have to go back to the origin, to the source. Right now there's a battle for likes and for the streams.
Y solo quiero decir que el hip hop es mucho más grande que eso.
And I just want to say that hip hop is so much bigger than that.
Yes. Yes. Sister Fa? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. What I just would like to add is like from the beginning, I was seeing the hip hop music as something like very patriarchal, where men was like dominating, and then also they was using lot of text that was not really glorifying women, and also other people from their orientations, and I just hope that the rapper will get the courage of accepting each person from the communities, the way you are, what you have chosen for your life, to really respect each person, and then to use it as a very positive music to really protect and to really stand for those vulnerable people that belong to our society also. This is really what I'm seeing.
That's beautifully said, beautifully said. So we don't have a lot of time, but as we end this conversation, I've got to ask, who's got next, right? What are the possibilities for hip-hop? Where do we go from here, Darryl?
Well, one of the first things that we have to do is stop just focusing hip-hop with the music. There are there are journalists, there are writers, there are novelists, there are playwrights. Y'all seen Hamilton, right?
Yes, we have.
So we've been doing it with the music. We got that locked down. Now there's other areas of art and education that we can use hip-hop to inspire, motivate, and educate. And I just have to add this, too. We learned from the people we stole from. Because when hip-hop got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a lot of people got mad. But what they don't understand is everybody that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, for these young boys and girls from the Bronx that was burning, had no opportunity. Those vinyl records on wax offered us an opportunity to share our stories, to inspire, motivate, and make change, not in just our communities, from the Bronx, New York, globally to Africa to Colombia, all around the world. We learn from art, there's a difference between a celebrity and an artist.
Yes.
Because art has the ability to transform. So we learn from individuals like Neil Young, who when there was a shooting at Kent State University, he didn't run to the record company, he ran to the studio and wrote a record called Ohio. We learned from John Lennon, we learned from Bob Dylan, we learned from Joni Mitchell, we learned from Curtis Mayfield.
Yes.
We learned from John Fogerty, Fortunate Son. So even though hip-hop started as a party and release, the only thing that we could never let hip-hop lack and it's lacking in the entertainment business is like Sister Fa said, responsibility.
Yeah.
There's a responsibility to the individual that gets behind a mic with a DJ behind them and whatever they speak. We have to learn to, if you make a record about a gun, you can tell that story. But the very next record the radio station needs to play in hot rotation 300 times a day so the young people can hear it is the record about not using it.
Brilliant.
They don't do that.
They do not
We
do
need more of that. That's it.
That's brilliant. Jide, quickly.
Yeah, so real quick, if you, again, if you take the I out of illness and you add we, you get wellness.
Wellness.
Okay?
Wellness.
You get wellness.
Yes. Yes.
And so what we need to do is, rather than leaving public health to public health professionals, everyone, we all need to get involved. And that includes hip hop. And so at Hip Hop Public Health, the next 50 years, hip hop is turning 50, the next 50 years, we want to focus the genre on health and healing.
Well said. Sister Fa.
Yeah. For me, hip hop is a way of communicating. And who talks about communication already have something very powerful in your hand. And I think through the next years coming, if we really do our best to work with the youth, to work with the vulnerable group, to use our music, our text, to educate the new generation, to build a better world, I'm sure that we can make it through the music and through hip-hop music. I'm very sure.
Beautiful. Ali, bring it home for us.
Ok, bueno, creo que ninguno de nosotros podemos escoger el lugar donde nacemos ni podemos escoger a nuestros padres.
None of us can pick where we're born, and we can't pick who our parents are.
Pero sí podemos elegir cambiar nuestro entorno.
But we can choose to change our
Y yo
environment.
tengo la suerte que el hip hop me abrió las puertas
And I have the
y tengo la suerte de que por medio del hip hop estoy llevando un mensaje que es un mensaje propio, es un mensaje mío.
hip hop opened the door for me, and I'm taking the message of hip hop, and it's a message that's mine.
Es un mensaje lleno de identidad, pero es un mensaje basado en lo que nos han enseñado nuestros padres del hip hop, como es el caso de Darryl.
It's a message that's filled with my identity, and it's about what I've been taught by my parents, but it's also about what I've
Entonces,
learned from
esto es
people
como un
like Darryl.
tsunami. Una vez que entras, ya no puedes salir.
It's once like a tsunami. Once you go in, you can't get out
Así
of
que
it.
quiero agradecer a cada uno de ustedes que están acá presentes porque sé que están trabajando en proyectos muy importantes para que la humanidad llegue a un nivel de relación más amable.
I want to thank everybody in this room because I know that you're working on projects to take the world to a place where there's just relationships and
Muchas gracias por
functions
invitarme.
in a kinder way. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.